One of the most asked questions I get more than almost any other, especially once elk season gets here like it is now at the end of August. When should I bugle and when should I cow call? A lot of elk hunters make this harder than it needs to be. I really want to simplify it for you. That's my goal of all of my videos, really. But a lot of folks hear a bugle and they immediately start digging through their calls and they're trying to decide which sound's going to make that bull come running. But that's not how I look at it. And so I want to share with you kind of what I feel like is a better strategy, because I'm trying to figure out what that bull is actually doing. Where is he? Where's his cows? Does he have cows? How close can I get without making another sound? And what do I need that bull to do next? And sometimes that means a cow call could be the answer. Sometimes it could mean a bugle. And a lot of times the best call is no call at all. Welcome to Backbone Unlimited. My name is Matt Hartsky. I've been hunting elk for 34 years now. This is going to be season number 35. I've guided elk hunters across public land, across the West, and spent a lot of years learning how bulls react to different sounds in different situations. And I've made plenty of calling mistakes over all of these years. I want to be clear about that. And most of those came from calling too much, a lot of times calling too early or too far away, and trying to force a bull before I had the right position. So when somebody asks me whether they should bugle or cow call, my first answer is, tell me what that bull is doing. The call comes after that, right? Start with the bull, not the call. So if I hear a bull bugle at 400 yards, I'm not going to automatically bugle back at him. It doesn't do anything to improve my position. I want to know where he is. Is he moving or is he stationary? Can I tell whether he has cows or not? Well, how do you know? Well, we feel like there's a higher probability that he has cows if he chuckles at the end of his bugle. That's just what's turned out to be true for us. Your mileage may vary. So that's one of our rules. Does he chuckle at the end of the bugle? We're going to play it like he has cows. Also, is he down in a creek bottom? Is he up on a bench? Is he moving towards bedding cover? All of those change the game. Can I close 200 yards without him even knowing that I'm here or trying to be an elk up here, that there's another elk around trying to talk back to him and start a conversation? Those are all the questions I'm thinking about before I grab a bugle tube or a cow call. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I see is hunters trying to get into bulls by answering them and then standing there and having a conversation, right? Bull bugles, hunter bugles, bull bugles, hunter bugles again. 5 minutes later, that bull knows exactly what's going on up there, whether that's where an elk is supposed to be or whether he's just going to move on the other direction, follow his cows perhaps, or just get disinterested. It's too far. And a lot of bulls are going to react just like that. If he gives me his location, and I have good wind, and I have cover to move in closer, I am 100% moving. I want to take away distance. I want to cut that ground before I try to pull him in. When do I use a cow call? Well, cow calls are generally non-threatening, so we tend to lead with them a lot. If I'm dealing with solo bulls, especially one that doesn't sound fired up, he didn't chuckle after he bugled, I am much more likely to say soft than to ever try to challenge him, right? He wants a cow if he's solo more than anything. He doesn't want to just come in and fight some other bull randomly, right? So a couple soft cow calls can create curiosity. They can make him think that there's elk nearby without making him think that another bull just moved in on him. But I still want to be close. If a bull is 300 yards away and I cow call, I've told him there's a cow 300 yards away. So he might expect that cow to come towards him, especially if he's bugling back at her and telling her to get over there. He might answer and stand there. That's a high likelihood. Or he might move 50 yards and stop. So then the hunter might say the cow call didn't work. And that's not true. It's the setup that may have been the problem. It's too far away. If I can get that same bull inside 100 yards before I cow call again, now he hears that cow close. Now he doesn't have to go too far. His confidence is a lot higher. And if the timber keeps him from seeing where the sound came from, curiosity can absolutely pull him that final distance. That's when I like cow calling a whole lot more. When do I bugle? I don't want him to know how big I am. I'm not trying to be a big bull. I'm just trying to be a bull. I'm not going in there and screaming and picking a fight. I just want him to know that there is another bull there that is talking to him to some degree without immediately telling that I'm trying to take over his herd. I might bugle because I need him to answer and just give me his location. And once he answers, I shut up and I start closing distance again. And I might use those non-threatening bugles again once I'm closer so that he believes that that bull has moved in there, but not necessarily trying to fight. I want him to escalate first. So I'm not going to stay back there and just have a bugling contest. We love it. We love to hear those bulls bugle. It's fun, right? But that's not what I'm trying to do back there because I'm not going to get a shot. The more I call from one location, the more information I'm going to give him. If he answers and I can move, I am absolutely going to move. Hey, if you hunt public land elk and you're tired of grinding through random seasons, I built the elk hunting series of ebooks for you. Most hunters don't struggle because they lack effort. They struggle because they lack a system. And that's exactly why I built the elk hunting ebook series as a complete progressive framework for Western elk hunters who are done guessing and ready to hunt with intention. Volume 1 is going to be Foundations and Reality. I reset your mindset and expose the assumptions that quietly wreck seasons. In Volume 2, Finding Elk and Understanding Pressure, you'll learn how elk actually move under pressure so you can anticipate instead of react. In Volume 3, Terrain, Wind, and Position, I break down how to use landscape and thermals to consistently create opportunities. In Volume 4, Calling, Silence, and Pressure, sound becomes a decision tool, not an impulse. In Volume 5, Bow Hunting Execution, we're talking about close range strategy so you can finish your encounters. And in Volume 6, Late Season and Post-Rut, we're talking about how elk shift after the rut and how to adapt when others quit. This is a system built for consistency. This isn't theory. It's a structured system to help you find elk, read country, and make confident decisions every season. Buy each volume individually or bundle them all to save 50% off at backboneunlimited.com. Now, herd bulls, specifically the last half of the month, and the closer we get to the end of the month, the better. With a herd bull, I'm going to be more willing to get even more aggressive. If I have a herd bull with cows and I know where he is because he chuckled, right, told me he has cows, or maybe I saw them beforehand and I went after them, saw that the bull was with cows, or once I get closer, I see that they're there. But if I know that there's cows, I want to get close enough that another bull near his cows becomes something he absolutely has to deal with right now. He doesn't feel that way from 300 yards away. He doesn't feel that way from across a drainage. I have to get inside his bubble. Now, the exact distance, it changes with terrain, with cover, with wind, with how those elk are actually acting and whether they're on the move. But I'm usually trying to get somewhere inside that 80 to 120 yard bubble. That is ideal for me personally. 150 yards, you might argue, might work. True, sometimes, but the closer you can get, I feel like the better. Now, I'm not getting into 80 yards and just hammering him with a screaming bugle either. I'm using a weaker bugle. I'm going to let him know that there's a bull there. I'm going to let him respond and escalate, and then the game is on, right? So once I'm there, a short challenge bugle is going to come after a location bugle for me. Escalation tools like Raking can absolutely make sense as well, but all of those come after I've led off with that trailing bugle and allowed him the chance to escalate. Then I might rake. Then I'm going to scream at him. And those types of things are going to come after. In fact, lip balling, any kind of aggressive sound that I'm making at him, all of that's going to come later. Cutting him off when he bugles, all of that, just to let him know that I'm close to those cows and I'm coming in hard. And once again, you heard me say it earlier, but later in September, when the bull is actually breeding the cows and protecting that herd, another bull getting inside that space can be very, very effective and a completely different response than earlier in the month or calling from a few hundred yards away. So the trick here is we're not just trying to call harder. A lot of hunters think if a bull isn't coming, they just need to call harder. But he answered the cow call, but didn't move. So they bugle. He still doesn't move. So they challenge. Then they rake. Then they add more cow calls. And pretty soon, they've thrown every sound at him that they can possibly make from the same spot a lot of times. It doesn't work, right? You've probably experienced that. I know I did when I was younger. Nowadays, I would much rather change position. If a bull hangs up at 120 to 150 yards, I'm looking at why he stopped. Can he see where the sound should be coming from? Is there terrain he just doesn't like that he doesn't want to cross? Does he expect the elk to come to him? Can I move while he's screened by timber, vegetation, or terrain? Can I change the angle so that it's more in my favor or puts him more at ease so he's more confident to come in? If I'm hunting with a partner, can I get the shooter in front of me about 20 yards if I'm calling for him? Or if I'm the shooter, can I get 20 yards in front of him without getting busted? A lot of calling problems are positioning problems, not calling problems. A lot of times it's the distance that failed, not the call. Now let's talk real quick about solo bulls versus the herd bulls again. We started off this way a little bit, but I just want to reiterate, if I'm working a solo bull, I usually stay less threatening. Soft cow calls, a non-threatening or trailing bugle, a lot of silence, moving in quietly whenever possible. I want curiosity to work for me. I want that silence to work for me and help me get close. If I'm working with a herd bull with cows, I'm willing to put pressure on him once I get close. I'm willing to cut off distance really fast. I'm willing to use challenge bugles and raking and cow sounds, but I'm not doing any of that until I've gotten into position whenever possible. Everybody wants to know which call makes a bull come in. I want to know how close can I get before I have to make a sound or before I have to make him decide. Now, calling with two hunters, best opportunity out there for calling, in my opinion. If I'm hunting with another guy, I use the caller to help create the shot. The shooter's in front, obviously. I like the caller to be about 20 yards behind the shooter. The shooter's the quarterback. He's calling the position. He's giving the caller instructions on where he should be and letting him know if they should shut up or if they should talk and what kind of sound that he should make. That keeps the sound behind the shooter while allowing both hunters to maintain visual communication. Try not to get beyond that 20-yard mark there. You start getting into 30, 40 yards, you're going to lose visual communication from each other, and it creates problems. The caller doesn't know what's happening and what the shooter can see in that position, so you're at more of a disadvantage. Capitalize on the advantage that a tandem caller-shooter setup has for you because it's tremendous in calling those bulls. The caller can see what the shooter's doing, and if the bull starts coming in, the caller can keep calling or soften up or shut up completely based on what that shooter needs. So when you've got that 20-yard distance right there, that's about all you need. Bull hangs up at 50 yards. Now he might be only 40 yards from the shooter. That's the setup I want. Sometimes it can get even closer than that, depending on the vegetation. And so the closer I can get him to being in that shooter's lap, the better. Now, I want that bull focused behind the shooter while the shooter's already in position. So I'm using that call to bring the bull through the timber to the shooter, and I'm going to adjust as needed depending on what we see that bull doing or what we hear him doing. Now, it's also important to know when to shut up. Even though this is about calling elk, that silence can be an absolutely powerful tool. And some of my best calling setups involve very, very little calling, especially in pressured areas. If I bugle and he answers, I move. I get inside 100 yards. I listen. If I know where he is and he doesn't know where I am, I have a huge advantage. I don't want to give that away just because I feel like I need to keep making noise and it's fun to bugle and have him bugle back. Silence can absolutely make a bull come looking. It can also give me time to move. If that bull's already doing what I want him to do, I don't need to call. So slow down and really think through this process. You don't have to choose between a bugle and a cow call just because one is better. You choose what is best for the elk and what he's doing and what the context of that situation demands. You need to locate him. A cow call could do that. A bugle could do that. Solo bull and you're already close. Soft cow calls might be all you need, and maybe not even very many. Sometimes one can do the trick. Learn how to throw that call back behind you, right? And make it sound like it's even further away than it is. Don't blow it right at him. Herd bull with cows, and if you've gotten inside the bubble, we're starting to increase our odds now. Now I'm a lot more willing to challenge him, right? A bull hanging up out of range, don't automatically add more calling. You might need to move or shift, change the angle, change the distance if you can, or just shut up and let that silence build his curiosity and let him come and let that break what has him hung up. A lot of times it's the positioning that has him hung up. He came in, thought that he should see an elk from where he's at. He can't see the elk. That's why he's hung up. So a lot of times when you get stuck right there, that could very well be the end of it. It should teach you a lesson about your positioning. So if you think back on times that happened to you, it probably wasn't because you blew it calling. It was because you didn't position correctly. He got to a point where he didn't want to come any further because he wasn't believing the setup anymore. So make sure that you're paying attention to the distance between the shooter and the caller, and that you're trying to make that situation as believable as possible for him, whether you are using cow sounds or whether you're using a bugle. That's the backbone approach to elk calling. Locate, evaluate, position, execute, and then adjust. The call is only one piece, one tool in the system. Now, if you want the complete backbone elk hunting system, including how to find elk, read pressure, information on wind and thermals, your positioning in these setups and calling and bow hunting execution, be sure to check out my elk hunting ebook series at backboneunlimited.com. If you already have a hunt planned and want me to break down your specific unit, your dates, access, terrain, your hunt strategy, and you can get an elk hunt plan audit scheduled with me, I would encourage you to do that. Then we'll hop on a call and break it down even further. And if you want ongoing coaching, weekly calls, and access to my full member vault, including our community, join us inside Team Backbone. Everything, all of those options for me being able to help you more is located at backboneunlimited.com. I really appreciate you guys being here. Love that every one of you has taken the time to listen to me ramble on about these topics. We are super close to season. I apologize for no graphics in some of these. I'm just trying to get you guys much information as I can here close to season while I'm cranking through these hunt audits, only getting a couple hours of sleep a night. So please bear with me there. Thank you for giving me a little bit of leeway, cutting me some slack on the graphics right now and allowing me to get these videos out, pump them out here before we all get into the woods. Until next time, train harder, hunt smarter, and never settle.